So let's start recording and let's start. So yeah, we were discussing like React. Just to give you an overview, I will just go to GitHub and oh yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. It's not by me. It's just by someone. Remind me later. So this is the. I'll just try to zoom in a bit so you can see. Is it good like this? You can see? A bit more? Yeah, just say. Better? Can see? I also have a problem with my eyes, so just say it. It's fine. I will not judge you. That you cannot see. I also can see, so it's fine. So this is somehow the curriculum. We will discuss it in a few minutes. But before, let's just discuss what we will be doing the next few weeks, which is 5 weeks. It's quite a lot, but not a lot at the same time because we have been doing this for a longer period than 5 weeks. So you were doing databases before this one? Okay, and how it was it good?
Yeah.
SQL and stuff.
The SQL was good actually. I
Okay.
like that, but that node part.
Connecting Node with databases was difficult.
Okay.
Was not comfortable.
But
Not
it's
comfortable
not,
too, yeah.
not connecting, but Node part was.
Node part was like
Yes,
a little
was-
confusing, but yeah.
Especially routing was difficult.
What do you mean by routing?
It's difficult to remember all the syntax. And,
Oh yeah, but
and,
Complex routing.
to structure it in your mind how to get
Which
one-
things comes
yeah,
on
yeah.
top of
but
the
I would say like
The links.
yeah, it makes sense. But don't be afraid of that because that's kind of a natural thing when you're doing something for the first time. Even if you are like crazy, which is doesn't exist to be crazy genius. You cannot like programming. You cannot be crazy genius in programming because it's something we learn. It's not like mathematics maybe, but programming it's something we created. So you cannot be genius at something we created. You know what I mean? Like when a child will get born, he cannot be genius at programming because someone else is creating new programming language now.
Yeah, all the
You get the idea? So you cannot be genius at it because it's something you get exposed to. It's not something from nature. So it gets a lot of practice and it's changing a lot. So even if you are genius now, it's not guaranteed to be genius in 3 years or 4 years because it's changing a lot. So it's really important. But this part about like getting the abstraction and just remembering everything, how it fits together, it needs a lot of practice. It's just I remember like the first time I was exposed to React it's when I was doing my final project in the university and like I remember seeing this page it was like fairly the same. They didn't really change the design. It was just blue with black and I really couldn't fit all the stuff together. We will see like props and state and stuff. It was difficult, like routing, like how this get routes to this one, connecting to a database and getting. It's like what's happening? But the more you get, like you do it, the more you get exposed to it, the more your mind's trying to find paths, and just like it will become natural. It's like doing exercises with your hands or something. The first time it would be like so difficult to do it, but you get used to that because your mind start like getting familiar with the thing. So it's fine to be like even if when you will have 20 years of experience, after 20 years you will be developer for 20 years, you'll get like exposed to stuff that you don't know and you will have the same struggle because it's about your mind. So it's not about like how smart you are because if like understanding for loop, it's like okay, to understand the for loop you need like to think about it a lot and you understand it. But to understand the complex program, that's not about smart. That's a lot about like getting used to like programming and building all the stuff in your mind. And sometimes you need to do also this zoom in and zoom out effect in your mind because sometimes you want to see the big picture but you don't think about the individual stuff. But after that you do just zoom in, you forget about everything, you only think about the route here, you forget about the database and stuff and you keep zooming to specific parts like a picture. So having this mindset about like just like not thinking about anything, just about this part. After that, zooming out and seeing the big picture without focusing on the smaller part. This is you get it with the experience, but it's natural. It's not. It doesn't change from person to the other. It's like what you are facing is another. And it's also like you did quite well because like learning all this stuff in a short period of time. And I can see like most of you, they don't have background, and even if you have a background, it was not really extensive for 10 years. So learning something for 2 years or 1 year doesn't really stick to the mind, especially when you move to another country and stuff. So it's fairly like complex to actually like study JavaScript and Node and databases and promises and all this stuff in 5 months or 4. So it's so even if you see that you are not doing a good job, you are doing a good job. Even if you see that, oh, but I didn't do that homework, but still you are doing a good job. So just keep it up. This is the,
It's inspirational.
yeah, just yeah, like honestly, like it's like some people, for example, me, I went to university. Well, university didn't help me a lot, but at least I had a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, like I had 3 years to learn JavaScript
Yeah.
with other stuff, but still. So it's also about time. Like if you can achieve, like believe me, like learning JavaScript and React and stuff in such a like short period, it's really difficult for anyone. It's really difficult. It's because it's not about like how smart. It's just like your mind is like have been shooted with a lot of information, like a lot of stuff at the same time. It's like what's happening? So it's not about being smart, but it's like your mind is like, okay, give me time. I want to structure this. No, take this. No, replace callback. Take promises.
Like you don't get to practice more on one thing and then another thing is added.
Yeah, exactly. So your mind is really overwhelmed because your mind is. It's like in a restaurant, you are barely trying to put the plate on the table, and someone else is shooting you 3 other plates. It's like, you know, you are doing this. So it's it makes a lot of sense, but it's also good because like the more you are able to learn, the more you will create shortcuts in your career, so you can go faster. Because if someone is like, if you get familiar with this, so if you will join a company, other people from universities and stuff, they need a lot of time to learn because it's not because they are bad, but it's their habits. They build this habit about being comfortable and just learning on their own time. But if you have this like able to just go straight and shoot a lot of information in your mind and trying to figure it out, you'll be really successful. Like literally, because you will adapt really fast to different technologies and different stuff. And even if you are not a manager, they will put you in a position of a manager to mentor another junior developer or something. It will be so difficult, but you have the mindset. You can just go fast, look something on YouTube, and just like go and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this mindset is really important, and it's really difficult to achieve. And the more you do it, and the more you practice it, it's really good. So there's nothing wrong with learning it this way. And but yeah, all this stuff is like congrats to continue, like for continuing until React. This is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so. Yeah, like I'm not saying this just to make. I'm really bad at motivating people. I cannot even motivate myself.
No,
But
no, you
what-
included it.
No. What I'm saying here is not motivation speech. It's real stuff that I'm picking from your what you are doing. I'm not trying to see the bright future. No, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying see the positive and like no. You did some stuff. This is what I'm talking about. It's not motivation. I'm not just trying to shoot at you random stuff, but it's real. You have been working really hard to like. To be able to understand all this stuff, like just understanding like programming and Node and backend and frontend and HTTP, it's just it's a whole science, honestly. So like trying to compress it in 6 months or 5 months, and you like being able to do that, it's an achievement. Enough motivational speech, which is not motivational speech. So we will be doing React for the next 5 weeks, and for who, like, I don't know if you know or you don't know React. If you don't know it, it's fine. So React is JavaScript library for building user interfaces.
It's library or framework?
It's a library, but it's defining what's a library in the framework. You cannot define that. It's like more of an opinion. The way you define framework and the way another guy define a framework, it's not the same. There's no mathematical definition of a framework to say this is a framework and this is not. You cannot. People are. It's like sort of philosophical. It's like, is religion science? Is science religion? Like we don't care. It's a library. It's a framework. We don't care. But yeah, you prefer to call it library. Some other people prefer to call it a framework. It's not the end of the world. You will have this debate for your whole life. But why we say it's a library? I would just defend my idea about being a library, like defending my religion. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's like when you defend these ideas. It's because so React is really small, and it's just a small library. It's like it's a small thing that does just one thing, and it does it well. So React doesn't try to help you with like so many different things like other frameworks. Other frameworks gives you a lot of stuff. Like they gives you how to do HTTP request, how to manage state, how to do a lot of stuff. But React, it doesn't really help you with that. You will see that we will be using fetch and promises to do that. So React is only the part of what you want to show on the screen. So React is responsible on what do you want to show on the screen. So React only is doing that. So all the other stuff around getting data, storing data, local storage, anything, React doesn't have anything to do with that. So this is one of the motivation why we call it a library. Because it's a small thing.
Front end or back end?
It's a front end. We will discuss why it's a front end, but it's a front end framework. It's a front end library. We can say it as a framework, but if you compare it to Angular or something, Angular is much a beast. Angular has a lot of stuff included in the framework. You can do any sort of thing like HTTP and stuff, but React is just a small library. It's really small. We will see why it's small. It has like just 3 or 4 functions. React, the whole React. But the concept is difficult. Like to reason about stuff or seeing stuff in the React way, that's the sort of the difficult part. But except that it's a small library. It's really, really small. But other frameworks, they are bigger and they include a lot of stuff. So this is why, for example, they call Express, some people call Express a framework, some people call it a library. It's the same thing. Express is really small. It doesn't help you doing anything. You need to do your databases alone and stuff. So it's not a framework. But at the same time, so it's sort of like it's not something you can define. But this is the idea about React. React, they call it a library because it's really small. And it's really focusing on one part, which is like rendering stuff. So instead of writing your HTML, we will be doing that using React. And you can see, like, I'm just trying to go through the page and just explaining. So there is 3 different things here. There is declarative, there is component based, and there is learn once, write anywhere, not everywhere. The Java is everywhere. This is anywhere. So what does declarative mean? Declarative means you don't care about what's happening exactly. You only tell the computer what to do. An example of that is like, let's say you are driving a car, okay? When you drive a car, you don't really care about like how the car works. You just like accelerate, you stop, you pass to the next like speed, but you don't exactly, do you know how that works exactly in your car? Well, maybe some people know, but you don't need to know that. Most of the people who drive cars, they don't know exactly how the car works. They are not architects. Who are, oh, this is the engine and there is some oil, it goes in, it burns. Like, no one cares. So we only care about giving orders to the car and the car will do that. So this is the declarative way. And what's the opposite to the declarative way? It's the imperative way. The imperative way means like you are specifying exactly to the computer what to do. It's like, take the oil, put it here, burn it. Take the burnt oil and use it to push the car. It's like, this is the imperative way. You know what I mean? Like specifying exactly to the car what to do. But in a declarative way, say like accelerate. The car will figure out how to do that. You don't need to say that. Another example, which is a really good one, at least from my field, is like when you play piano, for example. When you have a piano, you have keys on the piano, and you type the keys on the piano. Even you try that. Most of you try to touch a piano, and it will make sound. But you don't know how it makes sound, and you don't need to know that. What the piano player really cares about is like how to produce good sound, not how the sound is produced. There's electric pianos, there's mechanical pianos. We don't care about that. So this is also another idea. It's like abstracting, building an abstraction. So when you touch this, it will make a sound. But you don't care about how this thing, the ring, is touching the other rings to make a unique sound. That's not how the piano works. So this is declarative. And why React is saying declarative? Because before, to create stuff dynamically, you need to have like create element. After that, you say text content, and you put it in the DOM, and you do all this stuff. So you are literally like the car, like the oil and stuff. You're imperatively like in a dummy way specifying to the browser what to do. But with React, you can just say, create me a div, and React will create a div for you. Create me a P, and React will create a P for you. Create me a div inside another div, and React will do it for you. You don't care exactly how React is doing create element from inside. React will give you a function to create a div, which is a higher level. So this is the idea about being declarative. You will not go really low level and say add event listener. No, just this function and put it. And React will put it inside as an event listener to the click. You don't need to go and say add event listener, click, and all the shenanigans. No. You just give it a function and React will know because it's an abstraction. It's like the car or the piano. It's abstracting the browser for you. So this is what declarative means. It's like this idea of like declaratively saying that I want this and this and this, instead of like saying exactly. It's like asking for I want this meal, instead of saying get the bread and get that thing and put it on the top of the bread and add like something else on top of it. Like really doing it yourself, doing the meal yourself.
Actually,
Yeah, like yeah, our like you just say give me that meal, and he knows how to do it. This is React. React, you say give me that meal, and React will do it for you. But before you were doing it yourself, you're doing everything yourself.
so should we forget about that?
No,
Don't forget.
no, you will not. React will help you. It will not replace your mind. It will only help you. But in a lot of scenarios, you will need to do all this stuff. You need yourself. Also, like you need to know what React is doing, because sometimes it will trick you if you don't know exactly what it's doing. So this is what declarative means. Is it clear? If you have any question?
Yes.
Cool.
Then
Yeah, component based means, so before you were creating, so I need to recall this picture or this slide. Yeah. Come on, Keynote. I don't want you. So this is an example of the YouTube app. We all use YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube every day, even while I'm working. So this is the YouTube app. If you want to build YouTube now, let's say you have a task to build YouTube. It's a bit difficult to build, but it's not super difficult. I'm not talking about all the functionalities, but just this basic interface. About the search bar and some buttons and the video player and the list of videos. Okay? If you want to build it now, you will do it this way. You will write some HTML for the whole page, and after that you will glue some JavaScript to the page. Add the listener here, add the listener here, add the listener there. When you click the video, play the video. When you click on this and you search, do a fetch request or something. You know what I mean? So you just like think of a page as a whole thing. This is the traditional page, like way of building stuff until now. And some people they do it, but the trend since like 2012 and 13 and like going on, because web applications are becoming so complex. Because if you want to build this and keep adding stuff, you will have like an infinite limit of like JavaScript and HTML. It will get just bigger and bigger. So the new way of doing it is to actually do it this way, which is the component model. So instead of like thinking about your page as a whole, like one thing, you divide it. And you say, I have a header, I have a video, I have a video details, I have the comment section, I have the video list. And you code every, we call it component because it's like, it makes sense, it's a component. We code every component separately. And every component has its own JavaScript and has its own HTML. So this one has some HTML, and some event listener on the buttons and the click. This one is a video, it has an HTML and some other JavaScript. This one is a video details, it has some HTML and some JavaScript here to subscribe and stuff. But this doesn't care about this one. You can literally take this one and put it here. They don't care about each other. They are built in a separate manner. It's called separation of concern. When you have like a huge thing, you try to divide it. It's like when you build a car. You don't build the car as one car. If you go to a car factory, they build everything separately, like an engine and the car thing. After that, they assemble it. Because if they will try to build a car straight away, there will be a lot of like errors and a lot of stuff happening, and you need like crazy complex machines. It's like you as a developer. If you want to think about Facebook as a whole thing or YouTube as a whole thing, you will get lost because it's so big. Even for engineers that they are working on YouTube. So the easy solution is like what? If you have a complex problem, like divide it, you will have two complex problems, which is less complex than the other one. And you divide these, and you will have like less complex problems. And when you solve these less complex problems separately, you can combine them, and you already like solve the huge problem. So this is how like they build now most of the apps. And with React, and so this component will be like this. We will have like header, like an HTML tag-ish. So we will build our own HTML tags. We will have like header HTML tag, video HTML tag. It's called the component. Is it? Cool. And every component has its own JavaScript, has its own HTML. We can delete the component. Literally, I can delete this. For example, if you're an admin, I can show this. Or if you're not logged in, you cannot subscribe. So I will delete this. And I will have only the video and the comments. But deleting this will not break any other thing because they are separated and they are built in a separate way. But if you go to this example, if you try to delete this one, you will mess up some JavaScript here or some HTML here because it's a div and it's a flex child that needs to container. So I hope you see exactly why they are going with this tradition. If you go to Facebook, it's the same. The list of messages or the contact or your friends, they are like it's a component. Every post is a component. The cool thing is we can also solve something, which is, let's say you have this video list, okay? And every video inside it, it's a component itself. So we have video component, not video, but we call it like a video item component, video item component, video item component, video item component, okay? You don't need to code 4. You just code 1 and put it in multiple places. Is it clear? Because you can just build one. And when you build one, it has everything like JavaScript and HTML. So you can just like replicate that.
Yeah.
Exactly, repeat, like in a for loop or something. But you don't need to build this like multiple times. Clear?
Yes.
And the last one, which is learn once, write anywhere. Yeah, so the idea about React is so I don't want to show you some code so you would be scared. Up. It's a surprise. No, but the idea about React is like it has really like a powerful like mental model. So the idea is like when you write in React, you describe what you want. So you describe that I want a video and a video list and the comments on all these sections. And you build this stuff. You build like the video list. You build it with, we will see how we will build like a React component for the next 5 weeks. So you build like components. But when you build these components, React has an assumption that you can actually build this component, for example, in a mobile application and not in a web application. So you can literally take your component and put it in a mobile app and it will work. Because React will manage everything. So React will tell you like, what do you want to show on the screen? You will tell him, I want to show an image and text, which is a P and a button. React will take these and put them in the browser, okay? But React can also take these and put them in a mobile app. Take these and put them in a desktop app.
What about iOS?
It's when they say mobile app, it's every platform. I don't mean a specific platform, like any platform.
Okay.
Like Windows Phone, iOS, Android.
React or React Native?
Well, React Native is just React.
Yeah.
It's
But
just
it's like it's has some specific.
yeah, but still, this specific. It's like when you learn React, it's like you learned 80% of React Native. You're just missing 20%.
Ooh.
You know, right? Yeah, it's just 20% of some stuff. But the code that you will write, you can literally share code in between platforms. You can have the same component living in a website and in a mobile app, and they will be the same. Like literally the same component. Literally. So this is the idea about React, is like it's an abstraction. It's like the piano keys. You have piano keys, but maybe the piano is electric, maybe the piano is mechanic, which is really old piano, but you don't care. You have a keyboard, you can type, it will make sound. Make sound where, how, it's not our issue. So this is the idea about React. And there is React, as she said, there is React Native, which is the way to take your React code and put it in native apps, like Android, iOS, and even like Windows and stuff. And there is also React PDF to render React to PDFs. There is React Terminal to build terminal app in React. There's so many powerful stuff you can do with React. But the scope of this class will be around web. But that will provide you with the necessary foundation to go after and do whatever you like in other platforms. Because we are trying to build a foundation, not exactly teach you how to build this component. We're building like the general knowledge. An example. So this is yeah. This is an example of a React component.
Can you make it bigger?
This is an example of a React component.
A bit more.
It's not because of the screen. I will try to do something. This is a code sandbox. It's an online editor, so you can code online, like VS Code but online. It's called codesandbox.io. There's so many out there, but and it supports all the frameworks. We will say Open React, and we will have React here. Yeah, you can see it in the URL. So this is an example of this is an example of a React app or a React component. So what we have here, we have a class. So the way we write components is we use classes to write components. Why we do that? Because a class is it's more of a like conceptual model. You can build components using functions, but we will start with classes. And why? Because classes are really good at like abstracting stuff. So in a class you can put everything. It's like a package.
Yeah.
In a class you can have methods, variables, put all the stuff, and have them in a box. So this is the idea why we build them in classes. And how we do it is like we say extend React.component. I don't know if you are familiar with extending, not React component, but extending. Inheritance. Inheritance. Are you familiar with inheritance, extends, and stuff? No. Let's go to JSPin and ignore this animal. I know. So if you have a class, let's say class is a thing. No. Okay. It's a thing, and this thing is has a color. But before we write a constructor. Okay. And we say the constructor takes params. You remember that? You can take parameters. So you can say color and name. Color. So we can say this dot color. And this dot name equal name. Okay. Yeah, we can add a function like let's name it. Move. Let's name it move. Console.log. I can't move. A thing. Because a thing cannot move. We need to move it. So this is a class. So everything we can see that it's like it's inside the class. We can say let t equal new thing. Okay, this is how we do it, and we pass the stuff. We pass, for example, the color, which is like blue, and we pass the name, which is car. So this first param and the second one, it will be applied here. First and second. It's clear?
Yes.
So we can say t dot move. Run. I can't move Amatain. Okay? Until now it's clear.
Yes.
just to clear the console. What we can do is build another class. We can say class piano extends a thing. Okay, and we can say constructor piano has also a color and a name. Well, piano doesn't have a name because we already know that it's a piano, so we only need the color. And what we can say here is super. Super, I will explain super in a bit. We can say super color and piano. Is this clear?
No.
That means that super is now referring to the parent?
Precisely. It's super is calling what we are extending, the constructor of what we are extending. So when I call super here, you look, I'm extending thing. I'm extending thing. What's the constructor of thing?
In the first place, what is that extent? What is it in
Extend is when you want to get stuff from this class. So this class will be the parent of this class. So you can get color and name and move. So technically, I can show you something. I can say, so instead of saying new thing, I would say new piano. Or let's commenting and say like let p equal new piano. Okay, and we give it how many params does the piano take?
One.
2 or 1?
One.
Why 1? Because here we only take 1. So we say it's a black. Black is much beautiful. And we can say p dot move.
Yes, it should say I'm
Okay, it is.
Okay?
Yes,
Does this work or not?
it should. Yes.
Why? Why it doesn't work?
It works.
It should work.
First, what will this program actually print?
It should print I
Inherit
can't
from the
move, I'm a
Hmm?
thing.
Parent. I think it's inherit from the parent.
Yeah. So this class is inheriting stuff from this class. What does it mean? All the properties and the methods that you have here in this class, you can use them in this class.
But the constructor, there is color, then there's another color too. So how does it distinguish between
Between what?
two colors?
Oh yeah, because when you get a color here,
Mm-hmm.
you call this constructor and you give it a color.
This
And you
one-
inherit this. So the way you should
Hold on,
yeah.
that confused me again.
Yeah. So it's when you call super,
Mm-hmm.
it means that you want to use this class. Okay? So you get a copy of this class and you put it here. By calling the constructor of this one with the 2 params, which is 2 params here, color, what you give it here, color, it will be here color, and piano, it will be here piano.
So through the browser, it will be correct. Can you show the prototype of it? I mean, for each class, they have their own properties, and their own prototype. Because,
Yeah.
JavaScript it doesn't have a class.
No, it doesn't. But
So
but
to understand, because now we will get familiar. Could you show from the console log? I mean, from the browser. Could you teach us from there?
the problem is like
Because, class has a prototype, and
yeah, but that will take us to another path because I need hours to.
we haven't seen them. And I have learned from the internet.
But the idea, it's like why they build classes.
No, I'm not discussing why they.
No, I'm just saying like most of the people why they build classes
Uh-huh.
because prototypes are confusing for new people. This is why they build classes.
Okay.
Because classes are not really. Once you will be familiar with prototypes, you will not use classes. For example, I don't use classes most of the time because I'm familiar with prototypes. But for an entry level, we use classes because classes are shared between all object-oriented languages like Java, C++, Python. They all use classes in this way. but only JavaScript has prop types. So what he means by prop types, I will just like explain it in a bit. Not it's a topic that you need to explore, especially in job interviews. They mention it a lot. So when you have an object, for example, when you say array.map, remember array.map?
Yeah.
Map doesn't exist on an array. You created the array. From where you get the map? Technically, like from where map is coming. It's coming from JavaScript.
Yeah.
Why? Because every object in JavaScript is linked to another object. And that object is giving you properties. So for instance, I will just explain it in a really fast way. If you say, for example, like this is an array, const c equal an array, and you say c dot proto
Okay, zoom in, please.
So every object in JavaScript, an object means an array, anything, because array is an object technically. It's only like referenced by it has 0 and 1, but it's an object. So every object in JavaScript has a hidden property called proto, and this proto is linking to another object that provides a lot of stuff. So within this object, you can see that there is all the index of, join, keys, length, flat, find, filter, fill, every entry, like all the stuff.
And it's a mother.
It's not a mother.
Object.
It's not a mother object. It's just another object.
Yeah, I mean, the everythings are bound with that things which you are creating later on.
I don't understand.
I mean, it's the main object. This is object-oriented language.
No, it's not. It's prototype oriented.
Prototype, but everything's are bound with this one. Yeah, there are so many functionalities and
Shared between all.
Yes.
So the way you should understand it is like all the objects in JavaScript, they are linked with this hidden proto. So this takes you to another. So if you say proto, you can continue. You can say proto of proto of
yeah,
proto of proto of proto. And it's called the prototype chain because it's a chain of prototypes. But this is an old JavaScript behavior because JavaScript was created by someone who loved this approach. But in the new versions, they are trying to shift toward classes, and we are having like a class-based programming language. But if you want to learn JavaScript properly, go and check prototype inheritance, because this is not real in JavaScript. This is real, but this is an abstraction of what there is some stuff under the hood that JavaScript is doing. Okay, it's called prototype inheritance. So this one is linked to the constructor of this one. It's like it's a whole shenanigan here, but you don't need to understand that. They created classes, so we don't need to understand that. Well, you need to, but at your own pace. You don't need to understand it now. It's like when you have sometimes you go and you check it out. Sorry for that path, but so we understood that this is linked to this one. And object-oriented, what we are explaining here, it's not limited to JavaScript. Any language, almost that it's new, most of them, like Java, like C++, like Python, they have this behavior of super, constructor, extend. So this is object-oriented. Okay, JavaScript is a bit different, as he said, because of the prototype thing. But now they have a standard. They agreed to use this one. So we said that this one, it will extend the thing. And when we call super here, we are calling the constructor of what we are extending, which is the thing, which is this constructor. So now I can actually say, for example, console.log p.color.
Are you doing sort of parentheses? Console.log.
What do you mean by I didn't put?
Constructor. No?
No, it came, I thought we were.
Keyword unexpected here. Why? Oh yeah, we are constructor. English. So it's printing black. Even though that we don't have actually, we didn't say this dot color here or anything. Color is not here. But we are getting it from this class. So the way you should get it is like, I don't want to get into the rabbit hole of object oriented now. You should I highly encourage you to go and look at that. But the way you understand is like, you have classes and you build other classes that can inherit from these classes and get their functionalities. So if this class has a name and a color, this class will get a name and a color. Also this class gets a move. So you can say actually p.move. You can say move, even move is not here, but it's here. But because we extend it, we can call move.
I have a question. Does it inherit all the things from the
All the thing.
parent class?
All the
or
thing.
can you restrict that?
It's in the new JavaScript version, I think ES9 or ES10, but it was just like decided to be so JavaScript have like a standard committee that meet every year and they decide to release new version every year. For example, we didn't have promises before and we didn't have classes before, but in 2015 they agreed to release promises, and so every year they have a new version of JavaScript.
So until now you get everything.
So in this year's version of JavaScript, they decided that maybe you want this to be shared with this class, but not this one.
Oh, yeah.
Why? How you can do that? You do it with this. You just put this in the beginning like this. But it's I'm just saying it's possible, but it's a different thing. Okay. So this is why I'm saying JavaScript is really going object oriented, like class based. They completely ignore the prototype. It's sad, but they decided to do that. So
I have a question. So if you create a method in the piano class,
yeah.
will it work with the constructor of the thing class?
No, because like you are getting stuff from here to here, but you are not getting stuff from here to here. It's like you have the thing,
No, I'm saying if you create a method in the piano class.
Yeah, let's say for example test. Like a method like this one?
Yeah, change color for example.
Oh, you mean you want to change the color? Yes, it does. Because technically you are copying this class and putting it here.
Okay.
So this piano has its own copy of a thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it has its own color and its own name. And you can change color or name without affecting this one.
It's just like the instances.
You know what I mean? Because you are creating an instance of this one.
Yeah.
You're creating an instance. It's like you are saying new thing. Like t equal new thing. Okay?
Yeah.
With the parameter of this one, which is black. And piano. This is what you are doing here. Black and piano. Because black is called here.
Yeah.
So JavaScript under the hood, because you are calling super, it will create a new object like this one and link it to yours. So it's a completely new object.
That's confusing.
It's
But if you do massive in piano class, then you can't call it from scene. You sing.
no. Thing cannot access piano. Only piano. It's like going up. It's like your parent give you the gene
Yeah.
and stuff and going down.
Yeah, I understand that, but
You don't need to go into detail because you cannot get the object oriented in just like this. It needs a practice, but the idea that you should get is like you have classes that has a lot of things, and after that you create another class that extends it so you can get a lot of stuff from it. For example, if move was a big, huge thing, we don't need to create another move here. We can just say piano.move and it will take it from here.
yeah.
Make sense? So this is the idea about inheritance. It's like sharing code. So you don't need to write code multiple times in a closed scope because this is closed and this is closed to itself. Clear?
Yes.
So if you go back to React give you, so I can do this. So React gives you a class called component and you extend it. Why? When you extend it, you will get a lot of features from component. That it was written by the React team.
It's global. The component is a global class.
It's you import it from the React package. We will discuss.
Yeah.
It's a library. We will include it.
Can you explain the use of the first key statement?
We will do that, but we will like build our own after. We will talk. But now this is what I'm talking about. Try to focus zoom in to the React component. Anything else, ignore it. You don't understand it, it's fine. We have 5 weeks to understand a lot of stuff. So this is a React component. Okay, the way you do it is you create a class and you say extend component. Why we extend component? Because component will give us a lot of functionality to do all sort of stuff. After that, you define a method called render. And in the render, you return some HTML. Yes, you can embed HTML. It's called JSX, JavaScript XML. JSX. GSX. GSX. Yeah. Clear? So you sort of embed HTML here.
Can we write between this HTML
JavaScript?
codes, JavaScript?
Yeah, you can do it, but you just need to wrap it in this. So, for example, let's say you have
For instance,
you have a P. Let's say you have a P. Okay, and you want to say 1 plus 4. It will appear as 1 plus 4 literally.
mhm,
But we don't want that. We don't want it to be JavaScript.
yeah.
So the way you do it is you go to your JavaScript portion, what you want to run as JavaScript,
Basically,
and you say the curly braces, like the mass dash, the curly braces, and you put the expression inside it. And now it will be 5.
Wow.
So this is the idea. It's like you are writing HTML. If you want to embed, so you have JavaScript. You embed HTML inside it. After that, you can embed JavaScript inside your embedded HTML. And after that, inside the embedded HTML, you can embed JavaScript. It's like going recursively.
It's good.
Yeah, but the idea is like it's everything here is treated as text unless it's wrapped with curly braces. It will be JavaScript. This is the rule. Is it clear?
Yes.
So this is how you write a component. But you will tell me, this is not legal syntax from a JavaScript point of view. From a JavaScript point of view, you cannot have a div like this. At least in JavaScript, you need to wrap it in a string or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You cannot just copy this and put it like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
That this is
Yes.
wrong from a JavaScript perspective. So why it's right here, why it's running? Well, because React, it has something that converts these to functions. So under the hood, even these P and H1, they will be converted to JavaScript to create element and stuff. And the way you should see it is like, do you know all like Babel?
Instead of to create div,
Create what?
just write div. For instance, in JavaScript,
Yeah.
if you would like to create a element, what we are doing, create element, işte open close bracket div.
Yeah.
This is the long way.
Yeah.
Just type div.
But this is the React way.
Okay.
It's like really small.
It will help. It will do for us.
Exactly. This is what we are talking about, the piano and stuff.
Very good.
You know what I mean? Like you just say a div and React. If you go to a mobile app, div will be converted to something that it's a mobile thing. You don't care. You know what I mean? You want an image. An image in Windows will appear as thing. In a mobile, it will appear one thing.
So I will write it like in HTML
Yeah.
codes, and it will convert it to a mobile
Yeah.
codes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there is a. If you want to go super crazy, so for instance, you don't use a you don't use a div here. You use something called a view. If you want to go generic, and if you want to use P, you don't use P. You use text.
Okay.
This is the only difference.
Okay.
Okay, but it's the same. So instead of div, you use view.
Sorry for interrupting. Are you recording?
I am.
Also,
Super P? What was the text?
No, but that's not for no. Ignore that. Ignore. This is just a side question. This is not something we will use. This is for mobile, because you can go generic and say view and text and stuff, and text would be P in the Chrome, and view or something in mobile. We have to figure out how to convert it, but that's a different beast to talk about. So yeah, and if you want to see, do you know? Are you all familiar with Babel or Babel? Everybody call it different. No? This is called a compiler, transpiler. We don't care how you call it. But this tool is used to convert JavaScript from one thing to another thing. So let's say you have a function. You have an arrow function. Okay? You have, for example, x equal arrow function. But we know that arrow functions are not supported in all browsers because it's a new thing.
Yeah.
If you want to run it in all browsers, Babel will convert it to a function for you. You can see there. So Babel is a tool to convert JavaScript from one thing to another thing.
From year 6 to
That's one thing. Could convert a lot of stuff. Some people they use it to convert from JavaScript to another type of JavaScript. Some people they use it to convert like HTML to CSS or something like. But JavaScript is converting one code to another code. Some people use it to convert a new code to old code. Like this one. If you write a class, see, it will generate this code for you to support all browsers. But you don't need to care about that, because all browsers relies on prototypes to do their job.
Yeah.
You get the idea? So this is the idea behind like Babel. It's converting new JavaScript to old JavaScript, but in a generic way, you can convert any JavaScript to any JavaScript.
Should
Cool.
we copy paste our codes?
No. Exactly.
Just
So
run.
React do it automatically for you.
Okay.
So React will take that code, run it through Babel, get the code, and so for you, you only see the React beautiful code.
We will just assemble the piece.
Yeah, you will see the beautiful code, but when it goes to the browser, it will run this code instead. Clear?
Yes.
And we said that in React we can write a div like this. And we can say like this. So React converts it to a create element. Make sense?
yes.
So this is what. So when you write a div here, it will be converted to a create element by React. Make sense? If you give it props here, let's say you give it ID D, it will give it an object with ID D. So the second so the first param is the which element you want to create, div, span, x, y. The second one is the properties, the attributes. We call it properties. The third thing is, which is not present here, it's the children. So if you type test here, it will be the child. Make sense? So this one. So if we copy this one, or let's only copy the H2. We don't want to go. H2 React will convert it to this, which is normal JavaScript. So this is the idea. If someone will ask you, but this is not legal JavaScript. Yeah, but React is converting it under the hood. It's not React. React is using Babel to convert it. Make sense?
Yeah.
If someone will try to trick you in an interview or something, just this is the idea behind React. We are cool?
Yes.
I just have one question.
Yeah, of course. You should have one question.
About the like when we run our codes in real
In a real world, like server
yeah,
or something.
yeah, will it be heavy?
Depends. It will not.
I
But
mean,
it will not technically no, because like you can see that, for example, a class, it will not generate that amount of code for every class. It's only for a class. You know what I mean? It's not if you have 3 classes, you will have 3 things of that code. That code is only included once to convert the class, and it's
Okay.
done. So it will not make, if you have like 70 classes, you will not have 70 part of that code. No, it's only once. So you can, because it's only a converter,
Okay.
it will only convert it once and use all the helpers to convert. So don't be afraid of heavy, and even it will be heavy by half kilobyte or 1 kilobyte.
Okay.
It will not be heavy by, what will make your code heavy is the dependencies. It's like from NPM, or React and Express.
Yeah.
These will make your code heavy because they are big.
Okay.
But converting your code will not make it heavy, no. Because it will add only like few characters to your code. It will not like add Cool? Any questions? So far so good. So this is how we create a class. We create a component using class and a render. And why we have render here? Because it's a convention. React will say put what you want to show in the render method, and I will call it for you. Because until here, technically, we didn't show anything on the browser. We only wrote the class. We didn't say new app. We didn't do anything. If you can see, we didn't do anything of that. We just wrote the class. So how the class is in the browser here. So how you do that is you create. So you need a container. So you go to your files. So I have a public folder here. It's called index.html, as we usually know. I have a random ID here. Okay? I have a div with ID called root. Okay? It's an empty div. I will use this div to put all the React code inside it.
In HTML.
Yeah, because React will be converted to HTML. React will not live there as, if you want to show something in the browser, it will be HTML. So React will create a div and a span and a p, and put it in the browser. Because if you, so let's say, this is the root div that we talked about. Inside it, we have the div class app, which is so inside it we have this. So in React we say class name. You can use a class, but most people they use class name. Why? Because before they had some troubles differentiating between this class and this class. There's some issues between, like, JavaScript will get confused between these two. It's both, they call class. Like, you will tell me, but it's stupid. It's clearly that it's inside HTML. But there was some problems that they tried to avoid it because of parsing code and stuff. So they went with class name. So every React code that you will see, it has a class name, which is just a class.
Okay.
So instead of writing class, they write class name, because there will be no confusion now, because it's called class name. Okay?
Yeah.
But I use class name because I've been using class name for the past 2.5 years or something. So I just use class name, but yeah, up to you. It's better to use class name because most of the companies and old code that it's written, they use it.
Yeah.
So you can see here that we have a class with app and p and h1 and h2, and we have the div and the div with app and the p and the h1 and the h2. So literally React is taking this and putting it inside this div. This is how React put the stuff inside the DOM. You give it a container and it will put the stuff in the container. How? Because we are doing this. We are saying React DOM. So React DOM is another package. So to use React, you need two packages. You need React and React DOM. React is the package responsible for creating these elements. And React DOM is the package responsible for converting these elements into browser elements. And in React Native, you need React and React Native to convert from React to mobile. And here you need React DOM to convert from React to DOM elements. Make sense?
Yes.
So React DOM we call render. We give it our component, so we render the component. So instead of rendering div and p and h1, we render like, it's like putting h1 here. Because React will not recognize this as a component, like video and stuff we discussed. We'll start. So we can name this, for example, example 1. Always start with the capital letter first. Yeah. Okay? So you can see here. So when you render this, React will take this component that you rendered, this one, it will take it, render it to the root element. What's the root element? Is document.getElement by ID root. So we are getting the ID, the div from the DOM.
But in the original classes,
We are getting this one. So we have one HTML file that has only one div with the root ID. Okay? It can be a class name. You can say query selector. It's up to you. But you get that div or that container. We call it root element, and we render the app to it. Make sense? So React will take all my code here and put it inside that div. So that div will host the output of React.
Yeah. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
This is
Can we go with the CSS using the class name that we wrote in the JavaScript?
You can go with
Like, can we have a CSS file?
Yeah, it's up to you. That's you
and
can.
call the name. Will it work?
Yeah, you can have, for example, here class name, my slider, and you will have a CSS. So you can say my slider. I have I will. The way you do it in React, you import the style file. So I have style.css here.
Yeah.
You can see it. I import it into JavaScript. I just import it here. It's called styles. Sorry, it's with an S. You just import it here. Why you import it here? Not because of anything, just like because sometimes you have a lot of files and they are in like you don't use them. So you just like import it here, so you can say to React, I'm using this and this and this file, but not for a special thing. But you just import it here, and you go to your CSS file, and you can say, for example, like you have a class, like literally like normal CSS, my slider. And you say, for example, background, light blue, and it's blue. Like there's nothing because I have a class here and I have a class here.
Yes.
So there is nothing difference between normal CSS and React
Do you
CSS.
recommend to do it with the CSS file instead of doing it in JavaScript?
Depends. That's a long discussion. That depends on a lot of factors.
Okay.
I cannot, but go with the simplest way, which is this one. You know what I mean? Like you don't reach for other stuff until you need them. So this is the simplest and this is the most used way. You just write CSS like always. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah?
When we use classes, it's usually like a template, and then we create some instances.
Yeah.
And here we have class, but it's not in, it's already instance.
It's not an
a
instance.
template.
We are doing an instance of it here. We're creating an instance of it here. You get the idea?
Can we
can
use?
make,
Hmm?
can make more than one instance.
Yeah, for example, I can. So what I can do is I can render two here. So I will put. Okay, let's go. Let's
Some variables.
let's go smart. Yeah, let's go with well, let's go smarter and create another component that render this component.
Yeah.
Maybe you want that.
No, I want
To render twice
maybe
of it.
to be, yes, twice, but with some variables.
What do you mean by variables?
No, the name.
Oh,
variable.
you mean like changing the stuff here?
Yes.
We get into that. We have 5 weeks. Don't go fast. You know, we are trying to get foundation here. After that, everything will be easy. We will go into props and state and stuff. Don't worry. But this is one you can actually you can say just a second.
Okay, so you can create two instances.
You can create 2 of it.
Okay.
I'm creating 2. Example 1, example 1. Rendering it twice. If you render it twice, it will create 2. It's like rendering 2p. It will render 2p. If you render 2 example, it will render 2 examples. We will see after how we will customize it and pass different props to it. If you want to say hello here or something.
It's rendering this HTML
To the
root
to this one.
inside of the
To this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
Why it's doing that? Why? Because here we have render, we give it what to render, which is these 2, and we give a root element. Root element is just document.getElement by ID root. We can change this one and give it we can put it in a span or
Here internet is a parent.
what?
It
It's
refers
the
to
parent. It's the parent. Because it will be the parent of these 2 components.
Yes.
Questions? So yeah. What?
We are trying to change React.
Yeah, exactly. We will have a lot of time to just go the React way.
This is good. Shortcut.
Yeah. It's the thing is not about really the shortcut, it's about like having a future proof architecture. Because as we will see that as we are going, React will stop you from doing a lot of stuff. But you will say, but this is stupid. I can just do it the easy way. Yeah, but if you do it the easy way, and another developer does it the easy way, and another guy does it the easy way, look at your code base after 2 months. You will find like crazy, like spaghetti code. With like add event listener here, getting an element and stuff and putting here. But React will prevent you from doing a lot of stuff. Why? Because it's building like future-proof architecture. So it will not allow you to do a lot of things because these things will lead to a bad code base. So this is the idea behind React. It's like having an architecture. Because now we are building an architecture. It's like you build a component and you use it here. You cannot just mix everything. And you can see that we will build a lot of components after. And we compose them. And these components are not allowed to communicate. Because if they will communicate, they will depend on each other. And if they will depend on each other, if you would change one, you need to change everything. Because they are dependent on each other. So we will see a lot of patterns. Because like React is not something you build websites with. React is something you build applications with. So if you know like Facebook that you will have an application that it's complex, React will be a good connect. But if you want to just build a simple website, there's no point in using React. Because you will just build a website. But React is really good if you have like a complex app and you know that you will need architecture and stuff. React is really good because it will stop you from a lot of bad habits. It will come and hurt you in the future if you will do that. This is the idea. We're good. So let's name this app. Why I like to name this app? Because it's like the entry point of my application. You agree about this? It's like this is the entry point. Because React or any DOM is like tree. You have the entry which is up, and after that you go down and down and down. Make sense? Let's just create a quick component. Let's say we create a component called let's say for example called hello. Okay. Hello message. It extends react.component. So you can say react.component or you can say component because I'm importing it here.
Is it the same?
It's the same, we will see after, but it's because of the import here. Let's go with component now. Okay, let's say render. I'll just move it up. Render, and I will say return. I will say it's a div. And inside the div we will have an h3. Okay. I'll remove this one because it's creating a lot of noise. So it will return an h3, and inside this h3 I will say hello. Let's say my name, Yunus. Okay. So this is a component that say hello. This is the purpose of this component. I want to use it. How I'm gonna use it? Well, the same way I'm using app. I can go somewhere, like here, and I say hello message, and I self-close it. You know what self-closing means?
Yeah, nice.
I can do this, but because it like an image doesn't have any like children.
Yeah.
So we can say like this, self-closing tag. But an H1 has children, so we open it, we type inside it, and we close it. Clear?
Yeah, but if we do it outside this class, then we have to use the render function. Or what?
What do you mean?
Like here, the render function, you use it in the app. But if I don't want to use it in there, then
I can use it, for example, next to the app here. I can put it anywhere I want.
Okay.
I have two components, like the video. I can put the video here, I can put the video there, I can remove it. It doesn't matter. I decide where to render it. Make sense? So now we have hello Yunus.
No, constants.
Can you explain again about how you put it inside the app?
So we create a component,
Yes.
a normal component. It has render and extend component. And here we say hello message. I say the name of the component, I render it.
Yeah, but what was it with the backslash?
With what? Oh yeah, because like it's like an image tag. I don't want to put anything inside hello message.
Yeah.
For example, H1 accepts stuff inside it. So I say H1, I open it, I put some stuff inside, I close it. But here I self-close it. It's like an image. You just self-close it. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Clear?
Yes.
So this is like 2 components, and I can keep creating more and more. Like 500 components, 1,000 components. Like I think Facebook, they said once that they have 2,000 components. Like, so you can just keep creating components. It's
The app is a parent component and hello message is a small.
it's a child component.
So you can make an app component. Make
And
small
inside, because it's a
components.
tree,
Yes.
because in HTML you need to start with one. Like now we have the div, which is the root, and we have the app inside it, and we have the hello. It's like a tree. You cannot start with multiple ones. Well, you can start, but that's a rare condition that you. But most of the time we have a tree. Like we have a div that contains a lot of stuff, a UL that contains a lot of stuff, and we keep going. Clear? Let's go and eat something now. Unless you have questions.